Big welcome to everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us at Maverick's very first Twitter Space. My name is Matthew Taylor. I'm a project manager here at Maverick Protocol, and I'm just delighted to be here with these fine people and all of our guests. I'll take a quick moment to let everybody know that directly after the Twitter Space, we'll be hosting a kind of after party in our Discord server, and also giving out attendees an OAT NFT facilitated by Project Galaxy at that. So please do join us afterwards in the Discord server. Everyone comes to Twitter, right, to try and get the best alpha they can. But we're here today to talk about a slightly different kind of alpha, not just sort of trading strategies, but rather strategies for thinking about pursuing a career in Web3. You don't just have to buy and sell in crypto. There's all kinds of other ways to be involved in Web3 in the crypto space, and a lot of them take the form of careers that are both sort of semi-traditional or maybe non-traditional, and to give you all more information and some genuine insider perspectives on these, we're very lucky to be joined today by Jacqueline Melnick, who's a senior crypto reporter at TechCrunch, Anne Wellett, Chief Marketing Officer at Project Galaxy, and Jonathan Gee, a platform associate at Pantera Capital. And they're going to share with us some of their experiences and some of their thoughts on how you can go about pursuing careers in Web3 and what that might look like. I'm going to dive straight into some questions for the panel, let you hear from them rather than from me. We thought we'd kick off with a fairly straightforward question to learn a little bit more about our panelists and what their roles look like. What could you describe for us, please, what your role is in Web3 currently, and sort of give us like a kind of a snapshot of what your day-to-day looks like in that position? Perhaps, Anne, you'd like to lead us off this morning.
All right, GM everyone. I'm CMO at Project Galaxy. For those who don't know Project Galaxy, we are building a collaborative infrastructure for on-chain credentials. So basically, in the day-to-day, we help other protocols better engage with their communities through growth campaigns on our infrastructure, allowing them to have on-chain and off-chain tasks with campaigns. And we've had the chance to work along the sides of Maverick for different campaigns. So that's what I do there. I lead the marketing and make sure that people know who we are and what do we do. So that's what I do.
Could you elaborate a little bit on what your sort of day-to-day looks like doing that? It doesn't have to go into great detail, but some people might not be familiar with marketing or the work of a chief marketing officer.
For sure. Well, the fun thing about Web3 is that every day is completely different, but I'll try to kind of sum it up. One of the big things that we do in the marketing team is obviously all of, the Twitter and the content. I think that's a huge thing in Web3. There's a lot of educational content, so that's what we work on. As part of the marketing team, also, we're the ones who will lead the ideation for all of the events. There's also a lot of events in Web3, and if you're just joining, I would really urge you to go to any of these events or the side events. There's an event every day all across the world, so I'm sure there's something coming near you. So we at the marketing team take care of figuring out what we're going to do at these events. If we're hosting side events and parties, so we take care of that as well. We also take care of PR. So yeah, the day-to-day would really be just like planning content, planning where we're going to be, and working on the brand. I would say making sure that our message is cohesive in the different channels that we operate in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Could I pass it next to Jacqueline to tell us a bit more about what your day-to-day looks like, what your role is?
Yeah, for sure. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Jacqueline Melnick. I'm a senior crypto reporter at TechCrunch. And basically, my day-to-day kind of looks like covering the whole industry, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but it's a lot of fun. I talk to sources throughout the day. I interview people throughout the day. And sometimes, I'll be working on a story and working on another story, and then I hear something from another source and have to go pick that up as well. So it really depends. And then other days, this doesn't happen as often, but some days it's quiet. Those are usually the weekends. But otherwise, like I'm pretty busy just like constantly writing about the industry, what's going on with like NFTs or gaming or funding in the space. It really depends on the day. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you. And Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit more about your role and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jonathan. I'm on the platform team at Pantera Capital. And what that means is I primarily handle post-investment support of our portfolio companies. So this includes things like hiring and recruiting, marketing, PR, BD and partnerships, and community and events, as well as more crypto native things like tokenomics, governance, and some liquidity and trading. Um, and so that includes Maverick. We're big investors in Maverick. Love the team, but my day to day is pretty cool. It varies quite a bit. I get to interact with our incredible founders and teams within our portfolio, helping them problem solve and grow, and brainstorming new ways that we can add value to our platform and support our investment team.
Thank you so much. So,
Mhm.
three sort of, different profiles here. We're very lucky to have a great kind of diversity to talk to. Can we move then to maybe hearing a bit more about each of your stories? We're interested in knowing sort of both what your sort of previous career or background was, and then how you kind of got into Web3 initially. So, kind of the story of your arrival, if you will, in the space. Maybe Jacqueline, you could get us started on this.
Yeah, for sure. So prior to covering crypto, I used to cover oil trading and energy markets. I kind of always had an interest in business journalism, and I always wanted to cover markets and kind of the way like money moves throughout the space. And while I was covering energy, I found it a bit old school and traditional, and there's a lot of like red tape surrounding the industry, and it just didn't really like excite me, honestly. So I kind of looked at new opportunities, and I was interested in crypto. I knew about it. um, and I've been in the space for a couple of years prior to covering it. So I got the opportunity to cover crypto at a previous employer, and I took it, and it's been a lot of fun, honestly, since I've shifted over to the crypto industry. It's more innovative, I think, and the people and founders I speak to on a daily basis are way more excited about the space and have like a much happier outlook than like the traditional energy market. So it's like definitely a different contrast between the two. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah.
Just if I could stay with you just for a minute, your career seems particularly interesting because you sort of, as I understand it, you kind of moved out of traditional journalism into crypto journalism by going to somewhere like Blockworks, but now you're kind of back at what we might call a bit of a more traditional outlet, but covering crypto. Do you think is that something that you had to work to make happen, or is that a sign, do you think, of places like TechCrunch or other kind of more traditional outlets becoming more interested in the space? Is there more opportunity now than there was?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question, honestly. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was at Blockworks prior to this, which is a crypto focused news company for those who aren't familiar. And yeah, TechCrunch is building out crypto coverage. I was hired to help do that. I work mainly on the TechCrunch Plus side, which is like market analysis, like deep dive news. So, like, if something happens and it's breaking news, I kind of go into like why it matters or what it means for the ecosystem or like how this is going to build out crypto going forward. And I definitely think across like mainstream news companies or companies that aren't crypto focused are definitely building out their coverage. I mean, I see so many people shifting into the space who weren't covering crypto prior, even like finance reporters, business reporters, anything, just because there's such a high demand for crypto journalists in the space because the industry is like growing at such a rapid pace. And these traditional news companies realize and notice that there needs to be coverage here. I've seen it with Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, obviously TechCrunch, as I mentioned, and they're just realizing it's unavoidable. You can't just throw like a finance reporter on this. You need a specific crypto reporter to cover the space.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Mhm.
um, Jonathan, could you tell us a bit more about your story, how you got into Web3 and where you came from?
Yeah, of course. So I got into crypto in late 2016, early 2017. Sort of dove right in back then. Started an organization at my university with a few friends that focused on crypto education, market analysis, ICO reports, that sort of thing. It was a very different industry back then, and the resources for learning were very fragmented and incomplete compared to what we have today. And so it was sort of a gap that we wanted to fill. Ended up being, pretty popular in the area I was in. I made a lot of connections back then, and learned a ton. So from there, I stayed involved in the space personally, but worked in marketing and operations at a B2B SaaS company, in Web2 before finally making the jump to full time crypto at Pantera. So yeah, I've been involved in the space for a while. Professionally, only about a year now with Pantera, and it's been a great year.
Nick, did you could you talk a little bit more about that jump from Web 2 to Web 3? I mean, is there a story there about how you moved between those companies, or is it just did the opportunity arrived at just the right moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. The opportunity sort of came at a time where the market was really exciting. I was spending all of my free time, and to be honest, a lot of my work time as well, doing crypto things, talking to people in crypto, networking. Just, my entire life was sort of dominated by crypto. And at one point, I sat down and looked around, and I was like, why don't I align my passions with my career goals? And so I started looking around, just applied to a few, companies that I thought were really innovative and top at the time. I had an idea that I wanted to go into VC, and Pantera happened to be at the very top of my list, and it worked out pretty nicely. But yeah, it was a mixture of things. Obviously, the bull market brings a lot of people into the space. It brings a lot of people into the industry that were curious before and then want to make a career change. Now the markets are a little bit different. Um, but yeah, I guess I was part of that transitioning bull market workforce about a year ago.
Great, thank you so much. And Anne, could you tell us your story, please?
Yeah, hi. I can, it's kind of a funny story. I'll try to do a TLDR on it. So my partner's been in very deep into crypto DeFi for about 3 years, and he kept telling me about it, and I just was not interested. I just did not get it. I opened a MetaMask maybe in 2020, bought a few dollars worth of ETH, and then had a few dollars worth of Bitcoin on an exchange platform. He came from the traditional finance side, so for him, DeFi was really revolutionary. He was really interested, but for me, I didn't get it because I didn't really understand traditional finance. So this DeFi, this decentralized finance, was just not hitting it for me because I didn't understand how it was revolutionizing things. So fast forward to last October, he brought me to a first crypto conference. I was going there kind of uninterested, not really excited for it. And then after those 2 days, I was totally red pilled. I finally understood, the power of the blockchain and the technology behind it and how you can build on top of it. And for me as a marketer, coming from a very traditional background of advertising and experiential marketing, what really got me excited was the NFTs and how utility-based NFTs I could see it was a totally new way to interact with your users. So as a brand, you could just have this better way to engage with people, right? So I thought it was really interesting. Came back on the Monday and quit my job the next Monday. That's another funny story. My exit interview, we basically talked about NFTs for about 30 minutes. I really told them, look, it's not you, it's me. I found someone else. It's called the blockchain and Web3. So I quit, and then I just started freelancing and started figuring it out because I knew nothing. I still feel like I know nothing, but working on that. So I reached out to friends that were artists, and I was like, let's work on an NFT collection, like as one artist. The goal here wasn't to make money; it was really just to learn the back end of it, understand. and then helped a few protocols. So I was working alongside with Pool Together, which is a great protocol if you guys want to check it out. They're no loss lottery savings account. And through that, we did a engagement campaign. They wanted to do a growth campaign over the course of a few weeks to have people do on-chain and off-chain tasks. So I started doing research, and that's how I found Project Galaxy. So through Project Galaxy, we helped create this campaign for Pull Together, and then Project Galaxy came to recruit me full time. So that's my villain backstory, if you will.
It's a fantastic story. Thank you so much. Wanted to ask you all. I think we were thinking about this in terms. It's natural to think about Web3, say, versus Web2, but we could approach this question in a couple of ways. I'm interested in hearing from you what sort of like fulfillment you feel that you can get from Web3, maybe specifically compared to Web2. But if that's not a background that you have yourself, if you want to kind of think more about like, and a couple of you have nodded to this already, what kind of fulfillment or what are the pluses of working in Web3 that you feel like, because you've all gone through a kind of a career change, or you've all moved into this space from other places. What's the good things that you're finding about Web3 as compared to kind of other spaces or other kind of career paths? And maybe Jonathan, we could start with you for this question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if crypto and Web3 is your passion, the sky's really the limit on, fulfillment and achievement that you can attain from Web3 over Web2. Web3 is so heavily based around community. It's much more tight knit than a lot of, obviously, a lot smaller than Web2 as well. And so if you're already a part of the community, it's already a big part of your life, then, like I said earlier, aligning your passion with your career goals, frankly, is incredible. So could not recommend it enough. But yeah, it's the sky's really the limit on what you can achieve in Web3. Your work is definitely more impactful, I feel, than a lot of Web2 positions, especially if you're joining like a new protocol, you're joining a project that you're very passionate about and excited about. It's just a lot more fun to go to work.
Awesome, thank you. Maybe we'll go to Anne next.
Yeah, for me, what I really found was interesting, and this kind of goes back to that conference that I went in October, was I was going to these side events and these happy hours, and then this is really cliche and a little bit nerdy, but I felt like I was in a renaissance. And I'll explain what I mean. But we were at these parties, and I would speak with like a dev, and then someone from marketing, an artist, a more technical guy, a more finance person. Like, so you have all these people who are talking with this common goal, which is Web3 and building in the blockchain, who typically wouldn't necessarily be talking and conversing. And it was just, for me, I was like, okay, this is the future. Seeing all these brains reunited together, working in a common goal, was just really fun. And I think that that's what's really, really great. And Jonathan spoke about it. Like, the sky is the limit here, right? So whether you are, and coming from a non-technical background, I thought that Web3 wasn't for me. I was like, well, there's no space, but there is. So whether you're an artist, whether you're a dev, whether you're in marketing, or now, we even have new jobs. Look at community managers. This is something that didn't exist in Web2, right? So having a Discord community and interacting in that way, it's a whole new thing. So there's really room for everyone. So sorry, I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, but I think that that's what's really great about the space, and really fun and motivating.
Thank you. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been to my first crypto conferences this year, and the atmosphere you're talking about in these gatherings is actually something I'm not used to, and it is something that's quite wonderful. So, Jacqueline, what do you have to answer this question?
Yeah, I think going off what Anne and Jonathan said, I definitely agree with what both of them had to say, in that, like, although I am like a senior crypto reporter and I cover the space and it's my job to cover it objectively, I often do feel like I am a part of this community. And it's pretty evident when I go to these conferences or go to events or even just talk to people in the space that there is this like excitement and like kind of desire among the people I speak to like elevate each other's voices and all see each other succeed, in a way that like I never saw when I was covering like traditional markets. And I do work for a Web2 company, I guess. TechCrunch is more traditional. It's not like crypto native, as I mentioned in the past, but being able to cover Web3 is really fulfilling in a way because it's so new and young, and there's so much excitement in the space. Even during like a bear market, I'm seeing like a lot of, I guess, like talent still holding. And some of the people I've spoken to have called it the tourists leaving. And basically, tourists were people who just wanted like a cash grab or get into the space for money. And now that those opportunities are less prevalent, I guess I would say, there's more like really people in the space who want to be here. And that's really fulfilling as I cover it, as I mentioned, because like people are building for a purpose and they want to see this place, like this industry, succeed. And so I think it's just different from Web 2 in that sense, that because like when I was covering energy, like nobody was like, yeah, let's go like oil and gas, like it was already there. It was already succeeding. It's like a decades old industry. But compared to crypto, it's not. And so there's a lot of excitement across the space just to really see things grow. And I think that's honestly wonderful to cover.
Awesome. You were kind of you touched then. You said the words bear market, right? And
Yeah.
Jonathan was talking earlier about feeling sort of being part of the kind of the bull wave. I wonder if if the three of you, like, if you have any impressions of like how things are, what the kind of employment market or the employment terrain is looking like in the bear market. Do you still see this as a time of opportunity? Are
Mhm.
are is it just the tourists moving out, or are other people moving out? Are people still coming in? And if they are coming in, do any of you have any ideas or insights into what are the kind of opportunities or most interesting opportunities that are available at a time like this? Maybe you could continue, Jacqueline,
Yeah,
if you have
yeah, for
anything.
sure. As someone who covers this space, we do cover the layoffs as well, as I'm assuming many on this call have seen. But there have been a lot of layoffs over the past couple months, given the current market conditions. Unfortunately, across many different industries, that is happening, but we're seeing it pretty prevalently in crypto. But even with that said, I've spoken to people who have been laid off and they still want to work in this space. Like they're still looking for new jobs, new opportunities. I was at a conference back in May, and there was someone sitting next to me who was doing interviews because they were laid off the week prior, but they were doing interviews in person because they wanted to stay in the space. Um, so I think that really speaks to the longevity of people wanting to be in this industry. And then also, we're seeing a lot of like traditional finance people get into crypto, which some people love, some people hate. It really depends on the person. But I think it also speaks to the like validity of the industry. So even though like we are in a current bear market, and there has been a lot of market volatility, I'm seeing a ton of people still moving into the space, even with limited options. They're still trying to get in and trying to become a part of this. So, yeah, I think even though the market's not doing too hot, there's still opportunity, but it's definitely tougher to get in, but it's out there if you really push yourself.
Thank you very much. Anne, do you have anything to add on this topic?
I mean, I'm excited for it to slow down a little bit. Just meaning just in terms of I'm sure everyone here who works in the space, it's quite nice to have a little bit of a breathing room to create and build. I'm not saying anything new here. I think a lot of people have been saying it's a great time to build. And we have seen the market so far going a little bit up these days, which is good. But I mean, it's like everything. It's a cycle, and it's time to just put your head down, build. And as a creative, what I like, I always think that sometimes when your sandbox is like determined and smaller, that's when the most creative ideas come out, right? So I'm eager to see what will come out of this bear market.
Thank you. And Jonathan, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, or if you want, you mentioned at the top of the hour that you're in Paris right now, and I think at the ETH Community Conference. So if you want to give our guests any insight into what the atmosphere is like there, that could be cool too.
Yeah, of course. I'll start with the sort of hiring during a bear market. The bear market is, honestly one of the best times to get into Web3 if it's something that you're thinking about. The dust sort of settles from the bull run, and a lot of projects that are prepared and well equipped to build are easier to spot. So at Pantera, we still get a ton of inbound talent leads, and people are still pretty eager to find roles. Hiring is our top ask at Pantera from our portfolio companies. So we have a little over 210 portfolio companies now. Quick plug, if you guys are looking for roles or interested, go to PanteraCapital.com. Check out our careers page where we aggregate all of the open roles across our entire portfolio. So we see a ton of companies still hiring. A lot of them during the bear market, they doubled down on product and engineering roles. Are really popular. And yeah, it's just a time where it's easier to pick the good projects from maybe the not so good ones. But yeah, moving on to Paris. Events are great. I always feel like when I go to conferences, there's sort of no matter the current market conditions, people are pretty optimistic at conferences. Maybe they're able to, put aside how they're currently viewing the market or what's happening, and just, enjoy networking, enjoy connecting in person. So the atmosphere is still pretty great. People are excited, people are building, and it doesn't really stop just because, the charts are down a little bit. So it's great to be here. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.